Commander Joseph Taylor straightened his uniform as the massive doors to the Galactic Council chamber slid open. The room beyond was enormous, with high ceilings that vanished into darkness and curved walls lined with viewing platforms. Each platform held representatives from different alien species across the known galaxy. Joseph took a deep breath and stepped forward, followed by Ambassador Susan Miller. Her face remained calm, but Joseph knew she was just as nervous as he was. This meeting would decide humanity's future among the stars. "Species 4291, humans of Earth you may approach," announced a metallic voice from speakers hidden in the walls. Joseph and Susan walked across the polished floor toward a circular platform in the center of the chamber. Their footsteps echoed in the sudden silence as thousands of alien eyes watched them. High Chancellor Zexkor of the Arcturian Empire sat on an elevated throne directly ahead. His purple skin gleamed under the bright lights, and his forearms were decorated with golden bands that marked his status. The Arcturians had ruled the Galactic Commonwealth for over 10,000 years, and Zexkor's word was law across thousands of star systems. "State your business before the Council," Zexkor said, his voice deep and commanding. Ambassador Miller stepped forward. "Honorable representatives of the Galactic Commonwealth, I am Ambassador Susan Miller of Earth. We come seeking membership in your esteemed organization. Humanity has achieved faster-than-light travel, colonized 12 systems, and wishes to join the galactic community as equals." A low murmur spread through the chamber. Joseph noticed several representatives leaning forward with interest, while others whispered to their neighbors. Zexkor raised one of his 4 hands, and silence fell again. "Present your qualifications," he ordered. Joseph activated the holographic projector they had brought. Above the platform, a 3-dimensional map of Earth's territory appeared, showing their 12 colonized systems. "As you can see," Joseph explained, "we have established sustainable colonies on 27 planets. Our fastest ships can reach speeds of 15 light-years per day. Our medical technology has eliminated most diseases, and our people live in peace under the United Earth government." He continued the presentation, showing images of Earth's cities, their environmental restoration projects, and their defense forces, carefully selected to show only what Earth wanted the Commonwealth to see. When Joseph finished, he expected questions or discussion. Instead, he heard laughter. It started with Zexkor, a deep, rumbling chuckle that quickly spread across the chamber until most of the council members were laughing openly. "Is something amusing, Chancellor?" Susan asked, her voice tight with controlled anger. Zexkor's laughter subsided to a mocking smile. 15 light-years per day? 12 systems, 27 planets? He turned to address the council. "The primitives think they are ready to join us." More laughter echoed through the chamber. A tall, insect-like alien stepped forward from one of the platforms. "Chancellor, if I may, I am Science Director Kulvrix of the Antari Collective. I have reviewed the humans' technology based on their presentation. Their ships are indeed primitive. Their weapon systems appear to be basic fusion-based designs, and their defensive capabilities would not withstand even our oldest military vessels." Joseph felt his face grow hot with embarrassment, but he maintained his composure. This reaction was not unexpected, though the open mockery was worse than they had anticipated. 12 systems, Zexkor repeated with contempt. "The Arcturian Empire alone controls over 8,000 star systems. The smallest member of the Commonwealth manages at least 100. You are barely out of your nest, humans." Ambassador Miller raised her chin. "Chancellor, all species begin somewhere. We have advanced rapidly in the last century. We believe we have much to offer the Commonwealth." "And what might that be?" asked a gray-skinned representative with large black eyes. "Your resources? Your primitive technology? Or perhaps you offer yourselves as a servant species?" Susan's eyes flashed with anger. "We offer friendship, cooperation, and a fresh perspective. Nothing more, nothing less." Zexkor leaned forward. "Let me be direct, humans. Your civilization is far too undeveloped to join the Commonwealth as equals. We classify you as a Category 3 developing species. According to our laws, this means your expansion is now restricted to your current boundaries. Additionally, you will pay resource tributes to support the Commonwealth that protects your region of space. Protects us? Joseph asked, unable to hide his surprise. From what threat? From each other, obviously, Zexcor replied. Without our oversight, developing species often destroy themselves or wage wars that damage valuable planets. The resource tax ensures our continued protection. Joseph exchanged a glance with Susan. This was even worse than their worst-case scenario. Not only rejection, but restrictions and taxation. Chancellor, Susan said, we respectfully request the Council to reconsider. Perhaps a probationary period. The decision is final, Zexcor interrupted. You should be grateful. Many species at your level of development are simply quarantined to their home systems. Joseph stepped forward. And if we refuse these terms? The room grew silent. Zexcor's expression hardened. Then you would be in violation of Commonwealth law, Commander. The consequences would be severe. He waved a dismissive hand. But such concerns are beyond primitives like yourselves. You have 1 Earth year to begin resource payments. Commonwealth observers will be sent to your systems to ensure compliance. Joseph's hand tightened around the communications device in his pocket. With one press he could send the signal that would activate Protocol Omega. But not yet. They needed to maintain the charade a little longer. We understand, Susan said, her voice carefully neutral. We request time to bring this decision to our government. Zexcor nodded. Granted, you are dismissed. As they turned to leave, Joseph heard the whispers and chuckles follow them across the chamber floor. The aliens were still laughing at the primitive humans who dared to think they belonged among the stars. Once they reached their ship and confirmed it was secure from surveillance, Susan turned to Joseph, her diplomatic mask falling away to reveal cold determination. Send the signal, she said quietly. Joseph nodded and pressed the hidden button on his communications device. The message was simple. A single word transmitted on a quantum frequency that the Commonwealth sensors couldn't detect. Omega. On. The bridge of their ship, Joseph looked out at the glittering expanse of the Commonwealth's capital world. Soon, they would not be laughing. How long until Admiral Bennett receives the signal? Susan asked. About 6 hours, Joseph replied. And then the real fleet begins to move. Susan's expression was grim but satisfied. They think we're primitives with delusions of grandeur. Their mistake, Joseph said as their ship prepared to depart. Let's go home and prepare for what comes next. Deep in the darkness beyond Pluto, hidden among the frozen bodies of the Oort cloud, Admiral Frank Bennett stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance. The ship was massive, nearly 2 miles long, with sleek lines that hinted at its true speed and power. It was the pride of humanity's real fleet, a vessel whose existence had been kept secret from alien eyes for over 20 years. Admiral Bennett stared at the message on his screen. One word, Omega. He had been waiting for this signal for a long time. So they rejected us, he said quietly. Captain Linda Wells, his second-in-command, stood at attention beside him. Just as we predicted, sir, she replied. Her expression was grim but determined. Intelligence reports indicate the Commonwealth representatives laughed openly at Commander Taylor's presentation. Frank's jaw tightened. 50 years of hiding our true capabilities. 50 years of building in secret while showing the galaxy, only what we wanted them to see. And they still treated us exactly as expected. He turned to face the bridge crew, all of whom watched him with anticipation. Every person on this ship knew what the Omega signal meant. They had trained for this moment their entire careers. Begin Operation Revelation, Frank ordered. Contact all fleet commanders. Every ship is to power up and prepare for deployment. We move in 12 hours. Linda activated the ship's communication system, sending secure quantum signals to the hidden bases scattered throughout human space. In underground facilities on Mars, in hollowed-out asteroids and in secret shipyards built inside gas giants, humanity's true military power began to awaken. 500 warships, each armed with weapons far beyond what Earth had shown to the Commonwealth. quantum-phased shields that could absorb energy attacks, gravity weapons capable of tearing apart enemy vessels without firing a single shot, and artificial intelligence systems that could predict enemy tactics seconds before they happened. On the main screen, Frank watched as reports flooded in from across human space. Green lights appeared on a virtual map, each one representing a ship or battle group confirming readiness. "Sir," called out Communications Officer Eric Porter, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth. President William Daniels requests to speak with you." Frank nodded. "Put him through." The screen changed to show the face of Earth's leader. "President?" Daniels looked tired but resolute. "Admiral Bennett," he said, "I've just finished a meeting with the Security Council. Commander Taylor and Ambassador Miller have reported back from the Commonwealth capital. It's worse than we anticipated." "How so, Mr. President?" "The Commonwealth has classified us as a Category 3 developing species. They're imposing resource taxes and restricting our expansion. Commonwealth observers will arrive within a year to ensure our compliance." Frank's expression darkened. "Meaning they intend to strip mine our systems and keep us contained." "Exactly," President Daniels confirmed. "The Security Council has unanimously voted to proceed with Operation Revelation. You are authorized to deploy the fleet as planned." Frank straightened his back. "Yes, sir. The fleet will be ready in 12 hours. "Good. Remember your orders, Admiral. This is not about revenge. This is about securing humanity's future." "Understood, sir. We'll disable their military capabilities with minimal loss of life." After the President's image disappeared, Frank turned back to the bridge. "Set course for the Arcturus system. I want to see High Chancellor Zexcor's face when he realizes what's coming for him." Meanwhile, billions of miles away on the Arcturian homeworld of Zexia Prime, High Chancellor Zexcor was enjoying a celebratory feast. Around him, the highest-ranking members of the Commonwealth gathered to toast their newest acquisition. "To the humans," said Defense Minister Kravnex, raising a glass filled with glowing blue liquid. "May their resources fuel our continued dominance of the galaxy." Laughter spread around the table as the elite of the Arcturian Empire celebrated. They had seen hundreds of developing species come before their council over the millennia. Some accepted their place. Others resisted briefly before being crushed. None had ever threatened the Commonwealth's power. Only one person was not laughing. Intelligence Officer Krelzan sat quietly at the far end of the table, scrolling through data on a small device. Zexcor noticed his silence. "What troubles you, Intelligence Officer? You should be celebrating." "The resource reports from the human systems indicate significant deposits of rare minerals." Krelzan looked up, his three eyes blinking nervously. "Chancellor, I've been analyzing the data from our deep space monitoring stations near the human territories. There are anomalies I cannot explain." "What kind of anomalies?" Zexcor asked, his tone dismissive. "Energy signatures, Chancellor. Massive ones, coming from locations where the humans claim to have no installations or settlements. And our long-range scans have detected unusual gravitational disturbances in several systems." Defense Minister Kravnex waved a hand. "Primitive sensor readings, nothing more. Their technology is far too basic to hide anything significant from our scanners." Krelzan persisted. "With respect, Minister, I also have reports from our undercover agents on Earth. They suggest the humans have military facilities that weren't included in their official presentation to the Council." Zexcor's mood darkened. "Are you suggesting those primitives deliberately deceived us?" "I cannot say for certain, Chancellor, but I recommend increasing our military presence near their territory as a precaution." The Defense Minister laughed loudly. "One battlecruiser would be enough to subdue their entire fleet. Their ships are practically antiques compared to ours." Zexcor considered for a moment, then shook his head. "Your concern is noted, Intelligence Officer, but unnecessary. The humans are barely out of their Stone Age. Their technology is centuries behind ours. What possible threat could they pose to an empire that has stood for 10,000 years?" Back on the UES Vengeance, Admiral Bennett watched as the final preparations were completed. All across human space, warships were moving into position. Soon the Commonwealth would learn that humanity was not what they appeared to be. "Captain Wells," he said, Are the special operations teams ready? Linda nodded. Yes, Admiral. They will deploy simultaneously with our main attack. Every team knows their target and objective. And the Liberation Forces? Ready and waiting. Sir, once we secure the key Commonwealth installations, they will move in to protect the civilians and establish order. Frank nodded and looked out at the stars visible through the bridge viewport. Somewhere out there, the Commonwealth continued their celebrations, unaware that humanity's response was already in motion. The Commonwealth has ruled through fear and exploitation for too long, he said quietly. They see other species as resources to be used or threats to be contained. They've forgotten that the greatest danger is the one you don't recognize until it's too late. Linda stood beside him, her gaze also fixed on the stars. How many species do you think they've destroyed over the millennia? How many civilizations? Crushed because they were seen as primitive? Too many, Frank replied. But no more after today. He turned back to the bridge crew. Begin the jump sequence. All ships prepare for faster-than-light travel. Our first target is the Arcturian mining colony at Proxima Centauri. The massive engines of the UES Vengeance hum to life, building power for the jump. Across human space, hundreds of warships did the same, their crews ready and determined. The Commonwealth had mocked humanity. Now humanity would show them exactly what they had been hiding all these years. The Arcturian mining colony on Proxima Centauri III was the pride of the Commonwealth's resource extraction network. Over 10,000 Arcturian workers and engineers operated massive machines that tore valuable minerals from the planet's crust. The colony was protected by a defense station with 50 warships always on standby, ready to respond to any threat. Governor Nix Vool sat in his luxurious office overlooking the main mining pit. The operation ran day and night, stripping the planet of resources that would fuel the Commonwealth's ever-expanding empire. He sipped a sweet drink and watched the workers below with little interest. This was his third governorship, and he hoped to be promoted to a more important world soon. A sudden alarm made him jump, spilling his drink across his expensive clothes. "Governor!" His security chief burst into the room. "Multiple vessels have appeared in orbit. They're not responding to our identification requests." Nix Vool hurried to the command center. The large screen showed dozens of ships that had appeared seemingly out of nowhere. "How did they get past our early warning systems?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir," replied the sensor operator. "They just appeared. No hyperspace signature, no warp bubble collapse. Nothing our sensors could detect until they were already here." Nix Vool felt a chill run down his spine. "Are they Commonwealth vessels?" "No, sir. Design is unknown, but, sir, they match human construction patterns." "Humans?" Nix Vool almost laughed. "Impossible, their ships are primitive. They couldn't possibly reach this system undetected." The communications officer turned with fear in his eyes. "Sir, they're hailing us." "Put it on screen," Nix Vool ordered, straightening his posture. He would not show fear to primitives. The screen changed to show the face of a human female. Her uniform was crisp and professional, with insignia Nix Vool didn't recognize. "This is Captain Michelle Ramirez of the United Earth ship Defiance. Your colony is now under human control. Surrender immediately and no harm will come to your civilians or workers." Nix Vool blinked in surprise. The audacity of these humans was astonishing. "This is Governor Nix Vool of the Arcturian Empire. You are violating Commonwealth space. Leave immediately or face destruction. Our defense fleet will respond within minutes." Captain Ramirez's expression didn't change. "Governor, please look at your tactical display." Nix Vool turned to the colony's defense screen. What he saw made his blood run cold. The defense station that protected the colony was dark, its systems offline, and the 50 warships that had been on standby were now surrounded by human vessels, their weapons trained on the colony. "How?" he began but couldn't finish the question. "Your defense systems have been neutralized," Captain Ramirez explained calmly. "Your warships are contained. This colony is now under Earth jurisdiction. I repeat, surrender immediately and no harm will come to your people." Nix Vool saw no choice. "We surrender." "Wise decision, Governor. Remain in your command center. Our liberation forces will arrive shortly to ensure an orderly transition. Ramirez out. As the screen went dark, Nix Vool's security chief approached him. Sir, I've sent a distress signal to Commonwealth Command. The response fleet should arrive. Within hours. Nix Vool nodded numbly. Good. These humans have gone mad. They can't possibly stand against a real Commonwealth battle group. Down on the planet's surface, Captain Ramirez coordinated the landing of human troops. Unlike the brutal invasions the Commonwealth was known for, the human soldiers moved with precision and care. They secured key facilities without firing at a shot, their weapons kept lowered unless threatened. Captain, reported her ground commander, we've secured the main administrative building. The mining operations are now under our control. No casualties on either side. Excellent, Ramirez replied. Begin the evacuation of the Arcturian officials to the detention center. Ensure all workers understand they are not prisoners. They may continue their jobs with fair pay or choose to be transported back to Arcturian space once the situation stabilizes. Her communications officer interrupted. Captain, long-range sensors detect a Commonwealth battle group entering the system. 53 vessels, including 3 dreadnoughts. Ramirez nodded. Right on time. Alert Admiral Bennett. Prepare to engage according to Plan Delta. In the blackness of space just beyond the planet's orbit, the Commonwealth response fleet emerged from hyperspace. Leading the formation was the dreadnought Imperial Might, commanded by Fleet Admiral Dravmore, one of the most decorated military leaders in the Arcturian Empire. Report, he demanded, as his ships took up attack positions. Confirmed human vessels. Sir, his sensor officer replied. 27 ships in orbit around the colony. Our scans indicate they are more advanced than reported, but still no match for our fleet. Dravmore smiled coldly. Open a channel. Let's give these primitives one chance to surrender before we annihilate them. The communications screen activated, showing Captain Ramirez on the bridge of her ship. Human vessels, Dravmore began. This is Fleet Admiral Dravmore of the Commonwealth Defense Force. You have committed an act of war against the Arcturian Empire. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded or be destroyed. Ramirez's calm expression never wavered. Admiral Dravmore, we've been expecting you. I suggest you check your tactical display. Dravmore turned to his tactical officer, who had gone pale. Sir, the officer said shakily, additional human vessels have appeared behind our fleet. We're surrounded. Impossible, Dravmore shouted. But the display showed the truth. Where moments before there had been empty space, now over 100 human warships had appeared, their weapons already locked onto his vessels. A new face appeared on the screen. An older human male with a stern expression and uniform adorned with more insignia than Ramirez's. Fleet Admiral Dravmore, I am Admiral Frank Bennett of the United Earth Defense Force. Your fleet is surrounded, your weapons are targeted, and your shields are about to fail. Our shields? Dravmore began, but alarm suddenly blared across his bridge. Sir, his engineer cried out, shield generators are failing across the fleet. Some kind of quantum interference pattern is disrupting the energy matrix. Bennett continued calmly. You have 2 options, Admiral. Surrender your fleet and live, or resist and be destroyed. You have 30 seconds to decide. Dravmore looked at his tactical display in disbelief. The humans had somehow disabled their shields without firing a shot. His mighty dreadnoughts were now as vulnerable as civilian transports. How is this possible, he demanded. Your technology was assessed as primitive. A small smile crossed Bennett's face. We wanted you to believe. That, Admiral, your 30 seconds are running out. Dravmore had been prepared to die in battle if necessary, but not to throw away the lives of his 50,000 crew members in a hopeless fight. We surrender, he said, the words bitter in his mouth. Within hours, news of the defeat reached the Galactic Council. The recordings of the brief battle spread across Commonwealth space, showing human ships that seemed to predict every Arcturian tactic, countering their every move. The once mighty response fleet was captured without a single shot being fired. In the council chamber where humanity had been mocked just days before, panic now reigned. Chancellor Zexacor watched the recordings in stunned silence, his forearms gripping his throne so tightly that his knuckles had turned white. How could this happen? He demanded of his advisors. Their technology was assessed as primitive. Their military capability was minimal. General Dravmore, brother of the captured fleet admiral, stepped forward with a grave expression. "It appears, Chancellor," he said, "that they wanted us to believe that. Our intelligence suggests this was a deliberate deception that has been ongoing for decades. While showing us outdated ships and technology, they were building a hidden fleet with capabilities that match or exceed our own." Zexacor stood from his throne, rage and fear battling on his face. "Ready all fleets. Call in every available ship. We must crush this human rebellion immediately." But even as he gave the order, more reports flooded in. Human fleets had appeared throughout Arcturian space, capturing key strategic positions with the same frightening efficiency they had shown at Proxima Centauri. The Commonwealth's thousand-year dominance was being dismantled in a matter of days, by a species they had laughed at just a week ago. And deep in human space, President William Daniels addressed the United Earth Parliament, his words broadcast to every human world and colony. For too long, the Commonwealth has ruled through fear and exploitation. Today, humanity reveals its true strength, not to conquer, not to destroy, but to liberate. Every species deserves the right to determine its own future. Today marks the beginning of a new era in galactic history. Admiral Frank Bennett stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance as it moved into orbit around the Arcturian homeworld, Zexia Prime. Through the viewports, he could see hundreds of human ships positioned throughout the system. In just 7 days, humanity had secured 30 key Arcturian worlds, disabled 60% of their military infrastructure, and captured over 200 Commonwealth warships, all without a single civilian casualty on either side. "Admiral," Captain Lindawell said, approaching with a data tablet, "the broadcast systems are ready. We can address the Galactic Council whenever you're prepared." Frank nodded. "And our special operations teams?" "In position, sir. They've secured access to the Commonwealth Central Database. Teams are also in place at the main government buildings." "Casualties?" "Minimal, sir. 12 injured on our side, 23 on theirs. No fatalities." Frank allowed himself a small smile. The plan was working perfectly. Decades of preparation, of studying Commonwealth tactics and technology while hiding humanity's true capabilities were paying off. "Begin the broadcast," he ordered. Across Commonwealth space, on thousands of worlds and millions of screens, regular programming was interrupted. The face of Admiral Frank Bennett appeared, calm and serious. "People of the Galactic Commonwealth," he began. "I am Admiral Frank Bennett of the United Earth Defense Force. Over the past week, you have witnessed human forces taking control of key Arcturian military installations and government centers. Many of you are afraid. Many are confused. I am broadcasting to explain our actions and intentions." In the Galactic Council chamber, Chancellor Zexacor and the remaining representatives watched in stunned silence. Armed human soldiers stood at every exit, their advanced weapons ready but not threatening. "For centuries," Bennett continued, "humanity fought devastating wars among ourselves before achieving unity. We learned painful lessons about power, arrogance, and the cost of treating others as inferior. When we discovered we weren't alone in the universe, we studied the Commonwealth's history carefully. The image changed to show Commonwealth ships bombarding a planet's surface. This was the Tellarite civilization, 80 years ago. Classified as primitive by Commonwealth standards, they refused to pay resource taxes. Their entire species was nearly wiped out. More images appeared showing different atrocities committed by Commonwealth forces against developing civilizations: the Novan Rebellion, the Rigelian Quarantine, the Centauri subjugation. Dozens of civilizations crushed, exploited, or destroyed because they were deemed less advanced or refused to accept Commonwealth dominance. Back on Earth, President Olivia Scott stood before the United Earth Parliament. Her address was being broadcast simultaneously with Admiral Bennett's. "When humanity first detected Commonwealth scout ships near our solar system 90 years ago, We made a critical decision, she explained to both the Parliament and the billions watching. Instead of revealing our true technological level, we would show the Commonwealth only what we wanted them to see. The display behind her showed Earth's true technological timeline. Faster than light travel achieved nearly a century earlier than officially claimed. Quantum shield technology, gravity manipulation, advanced AI systems that had been perfected generations ago. We hid our true capabilities not out of fear, President Scott continued, but because history taught us to measure potential allies by how they treat those they perceive as weaker. The Commonwealth failed that test when they mocked our representatives and attempted to classify us as a resource colony. On the Arcturian homeworld, Chancellor Zexcor watched the broadcast with growing horror. The humans had been monitoring the Commonwealth for nearly a century. They had deliberately presented themselves as an easy target, knowing exactly how the Commonwealth would respond. "Open a channel to the human admiral," he ordered frantically. "We must negotiate." But it was too late. On screens throughout the chamber, images appeared showing human forces securing the Commonwealth's most secure facilities. The main defense grid, the central bank, the strategic command centers across 20 core worlds. Admiral Bennett's face returned to the screen. "The Commonwealth's military capabilities have been neutralized. Your government centers are under our control. But this is not a conquest." He paused, his expression softening slightly. "Humanity does not seek vengeance or dominance. We have disabled your weapons, not destroyed your cities. We have captured your ships, not annihilated them. Because unlike the Commonwealth, we understand that true strength lies not in crushing those who are different, but in building something better together." In a secure room deep beneath the council chamber, Commander Joseph Taylor and Ambassador Susan Miller, who had been mocked by the council just days ago, supervised a team of human technicians accessing the Commonwealth's central database. "Look at this," Susan said, pointing to a screen. "Records of at least 37 species completely wiped out by Commonwealth forces over the past 1,000 years. Their cultures, their knowledge, their art, all gone." Joseph shook his head in disgust. "And another 100 classified as servant species, bred specifically to work in mines or factories." One of the technicians called out in excitement. "Ambassador, Commander, we found something. Hidden files in a secret partition of the database. Records of species the Commonwealth claimed were extinct." Joseph looked at the screen in amazement. "They're alive?" "Yes, sir," the technician confirmed. "Small populations kept in isolated habitats. The Commonwealth preserved them as study specimens." Susan's expression hardened. "Send the coordinates to Admiral Bennett immediately. We need to send liberation teams right away." Back on the TIE bridge of the UES Vengeance, Admiral Bennett was concluding his address. "People of the Commonwealth, today marks the end of Empire and the beginning of Federation. In the coming days, representatives from Earth will work with leaders from all Commonwealth worlds to establish a new galactic order. One based on cooperation and mutual respect, rather than domination and fear." He leaned forward slightly, his voice firm but not threatening. "To the Arcturian leadership and military commanders who have not yet surrendered, your empire has fallen. Your weapons cannot harm us. Your shields cannot stop us. But we offer you something your empire never offered its victims, the chance to be part of building something better." The broadcast ended, leaving billions across thousands of worlds in stunned silence. On the Arcturian homeworld, Chancellor Zexcor slumped in his throne. Around him, council representatives from dozens of species whispered urgently to each other. Many looked not frightened but relieved. A junior officer approached the Chancellor timidly. "Sir, we're receiving reports from across Commonwealth space. Multiple member species are declaring support for the humans. The Tellarites, the Novans, the Rigelians, they're all calling for the formation of this Federation." Zexcor looked up, his face a mask of defeat. How? How could this happen so quickly?" From the doorway, a voice answered. "Because your empire was built on fear, Chancellor, and the moment that fear was removed, it began to collapse. Commander, Joseph Taylor walked into the chamber, followed by Ambassador Susan Miller and a small security detail. The soldiers kept their weapons holstered, a stark contrast to the heavily armed Arcturian guards who had always surrounded the Chancellor. Joseph approached the Chancellor's throne, looking up at the alien who had laughed in his face just days ago. "Your empire's fundamental mistake," Joseph said quietly, "was believing that technological advancement and moral advancement were the same thing. You measured a species' worth by the power of their weapons or the speed of their ships. You never considered that true civilization is measured by how it treats others?" Susan stepped forward. "Chancellor Zexkor, the United Earth government invites you to attend the founding conference of the Galactic Federation, where all species, including Arcturians, will have equal representation." Zexkor's 4 eyes blinked in confusion. "Equal, but we ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. And now you won't," Joseph replied simply. "Now you'll join it as equals. That is the choice before you. Adapt to a new reality or be left behind by it." In orbit above the planet, Admiral Bennett received a priority message from Earth. President Scott's face appeared on his private screen. "Admiral, our data teams have discovered something remarkable in the Commonwealth records," she said urgently. "Species we thought were extinct, preserved in isolated habitats, and something else. Evidence of even more advanced civilizations beyond Commonwealth space. Civilizations the Commonwealth has been hiding from its own people." Frank nodded, gravely. "I'll dispatch ships immediately to investigate, Madam President. If there are survivors to be liberated, we'll find them." "This changes everything, Frank," the President said. "We thought we were revealing ourselves to protect humanity, but it seems we've stumbled into something far larger." "All the more reason to establish the Federation quickly," Frank replied. "Whatever lies beyond Commonwealth space will face it better together than divided." As the UES Vengeance maintained its orbit, Frank looked out at the stars beyond the Arcturian system. Humanity had achieved its first goal, breaking the Commonwealth's stranglehold on the galaxy. But their journey, it seemed, was just beginning. 3 weeks after human forces first revealed themselves to the Commonwealth, representatives from over 300 worlds gathered on Earth. The United Nations Assembly Hall in New York had been expanded for the occasion, with special seating, arrangements to accommodate beings of all shapes, sizes, and atmospheric requirements. President Olivia Scott stood at the podium, looking out at the most diverse gathering in human history. Species that had once been bitter enemies under Commonwealth rule now sat side by side, united by a common purpose. "Welcome to Earth," she began, her voice calm and steady. "For many of you, this is your first visit to our world. Just 1 month ago, most of you believed humans were primitive beings barely capable of interstellar travel. Today, you sit in our assembly hall as equals, preparing to forge a new future together." In the front row, Chancellor Zexkor of the former Arcturian Empire shifted uncomfortably in his specially designed seat. Once the most powerful being in known space, he now represented just one voice among hundreds. His forearms, once adorned with the golden bands of supreme authority, now bore only simple diplomatic credentials. Next to him sat the representatives of species that had suffered most under Arcturian rule. The reptilian Tellarites, nearly wiped out for refusing to pay resource taxes. The crystalline Novans, whose rebellion had been crushed decades ago. And most surprisingly, delegates from 6 species long thought extinct, recently freed from hidden Commonwealth preservation habitats. President Scott continued, "The Galactic Federation we propose today is built on 3 core principles: equality, autonomy, and cooperation. No species will rule over another. No world will be stripped of resources against its will, and all technological and scientific advances will be shared for the common good." From his seat in the security section, Commander Joseph Taylor watched, with a sense of pride and accomplishment. Just weeks ago, he had stood before the Commonwealth Council as they mocked humanity. Now the tables had turned completely. Susan Miller, recently named Earth's first Federation ambassador, sat near the president, reviewing notes for her upcoming presentation on the proposed Federation Charter. The document represented thousands, of hours of work by human legal and diplomatic experts, designed to create a governing system that would prevent any single species from dominating the others. On the massive screens around the hall, data and images displayed the current status of the former Commonwealth. Human ships maintained peace in strategic locations. Aid teams helped worlds that had been exploited for resources to rebuild their economies. Medical missions addressed the needs of species who had been denied proper healthcare under Arcturian rule. In orbit above Earth, Admiral Frank Bennett stood on the observation deck of the UES Vengeance. Beside him was Captain Linda Wells, watching as ships from dozens of alien worlds moved in carefully coordinated patterns around the planet. "Hard to believe it's only been 3 weeks," Linda said quietly. Frank nodded. "Operation Revelation exceeded even our most optimistic projections. We expected more resistance." "The Commonwealth was rotten at its core," Linda replied. "All it took was a firm push, and the whole structure collapsed." Frank's communication device chimed, and he answered it to find President Scott's face on the screen. "Admiral, the signing ceremony is about to begin. The delegates have requested your presence." "I'll be right down, Madam President," he replied. Back in the assembly hall, the mood was solemn as representatives came forward one by one to sign the Federation Charter. Each signature represented not just a world, but a commitment to a new way of galactic governance. When Chancellor Zexcor's turn came, the hall fell silent. The former ruler of the Commonwealth approached the document slowly, his movements stiff with what might have been reluctance or perhaps just unfamiliarity with his reduced status. He paused at the podium, looking out at the assembled delegates. For a moment, many feared he would refuse to sign, throwing the fragile new alliance into chaos. "For 10,000 years, Zexacor said, his voice carrying across the silent hall, "my people ruled the stars. We believed our technological superiority gave us the right to determine the fate of all other species." He looked down at the charter before him. "We were wrong, and it took a species we dismissed as primitives to show us the depth of our error." Zexacor lifted the ceremonial pen. "The Arcturian people accept our place as equals in this federation, not as rulers, but as partners. We have much to atone for, and much to learn." He signed with a flourish, then stepped away. The tension in the room broke as delegates applauded the former Chancellor's unexpected humility. As the ceremony continued, Admiral Bennett arrived and took his place beside Joseph Taylor in the security section. "You should be up there with the President," Joseph said. "None of this would have been possible without you." Frank shook his head. "I just carried out the plan. You're the one who stood in front of the Commonwealth Council and kept your composure while they laughed at you." "Not the most difficult assignment I've had," Joseph replied with a smile. "Besides, their faces when our fleet appeared made it all worthwhile." After the last signature was added to the charter, President Scott rose once more to address the assembly. "Today marks not an ending, but a beginning. The Federation Charter is signed, but our real work lies ahead. Together, we face challenges none of us could overcome alone." The main screen changed to show images from deep space probes, revealing strange energy signatures beyond the former Commonwealth borders. "Our science teams have detected evidence of civilizations far more advanced than any of ours," Scott continued. "Some appear peaceful, others potentially hostile. The Commonwealth hid this information, fearing it would undermine their control. But the Federation will face these discoveries openly, together." Later that evening, as celebration events continued, across Earth, President Scott met privately with her most senior advisors. Admiral Bennett, Ambassador Miller, Commander Taylor, and a small group of scientific and military leaders gathered in a secure room beneath the White House. The public signing ceremony was just the first step, Scott told them. Now we need to discuss the real challenges ahead. Dr. Alan Patterson, Earth's leading xenoarchaeologist, activated a holographic display showing artifacts discovered in the Commonwealth's secret archives. "These items date back nearly 1,000,000 years, he explained. "They suggest a previous galactic civilization that collapsed under unknown circumstances. And more concerning, they hint at an external threat that may have caused that collapse." Admiral Bennett studied the images carefully. "The Commonwealth knew about this?" They did, Ambassador Miller confirmed. Our teams found heavily encrypted files in their central database. The Arcturian leadership believed that sharing this information would cause panic and undermine their control. President Scott looked at each person in the room. Humanity united the galaxy by revealing our hidden strength at the perfect moment. Now we face a greater challenge, preparing the Federation for whatever lies beyond known space. Commander, Taylor spoke up. The Commonwealth ruled through fear and deception. They fell because their foundation was rotten. The Federation must be different. We need to share this information with all member worlds. Scott nodded. I agree. Secrecy and deception are what doomed the Commonwealth. The Federation will stand on truth no matter how uncomfortable. As the meeting concluded, Admiral Bennett and Commander Taylor walked together through the underground corridor. Quite a month, Joseph said. From being laughed at by aliens to helping create a galactic government. Frank smiled slightly. All according to plan. Well, mostly. And now we prepare for whatever those deep space signals represent, Joseph added. Yes, Frank replied. But this time we won't face it alone. Outside, night had fallen over Washington, D.C. citizens of Earth, celebrated alongside visitors from dozens of alien worlds. Children played with young aliens. Diplomats shared meals with former enemies. And scientists eagerly exchanged knowledge that had been restricted under Commonwealth rule. In orbit, the UES Vengeance maintained its vigilant watch, a symbol of humanity's hidden strength now revealed. But it was no longer alone. Ships from former Commonwealth worlds now patrolled alongside human vessels, their crews learning to work together. The Galactic Empire had mocked humanity, unaware of the power, hidden behind a carefully constructed facade of primitiveness. That mockery had led to the Empire's downfall and the birth of something new, a federation of equals, stronger together than any empire could ever be. And somewhere in deep space, beyond the reach of current sensors, other civilizations waited to be discovered. Whether they would be friends or foes remained to be seen. But whatever challenges lay ahead, humanity and their new allies would face them united, never again underestimating any species based on appearances alone.